In 2009, the U.S. and Egypt striking a deal. The U.S. agreeing to give Egypt 20 F-16 fighter jets by the end of this year. A new batch of jets was set to take off for Egypt this summer, but then a serious glitch. Egyptian President Morsi got thrown out by the Egyptian military. But President Obama did not call it a military coup. Why? Well, that's the problem. The Foreign Assistance Act, a U.S. law enacted in 1961, says the U.S. must cut aid to any country whose elected head, like Morsi, is deposed by a military coup. So is the military overthrow of Egyptian President Morsi a military coup? Senator Lindsey Graham joins us. All right, let's start that. Let's look at the statute. Is the military overthrow of President Morsi a military coup?
I think it is. I mean, you got the president that was elected by the popular vote in some unknown location under control of the military, and the military basically disbanded the elected government. But having said that, Morsi was taking the country in a terrible, direction. He had a chance to bring Egypt together, and he started passing all these sort of radical Islamic laws rather than creating jobs for the Egyptians. So the military intervened because the country was about to fall apart. But yeah, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you it's not a coup.
Well, so what do we do? Because, strategically, we'd rather send these F-16s to the Egyptian military because they're the best defense also that Israel has. But the law says that we can't if it's a military coup. So what do we do?
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to allow the aid to flow, but we're going to put conditions on it. We'll pass the bill tomorrow.
How does that sort of get passed? How does that get past the law? I mean, are we just going to blow off the law? I mean, I say, what, do we ignore it?
I think what we're going to do is say that they're not going to get any money until they start down the road of holding new elections.
How does that get past the problem? Because we still have a military coup. We're just looking the other way in the law.
This is just Lindsey Graham's opinion that it's a coup, but the trifecta from hell is unfolding in front of us. Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon. Syria is about to infect the entire region, taking the king of Jordan down, and Egypt could become a failed state.
And let me add into that to everyone who thinks all I talk about is the Sudan, but we'll deal with that another night.
Dead right about this.
The Sudan sometime.
Denying the sale right now is probably the right thing to do. The goal is to get the military to turn the country back over to an elected government.
That'll take 6 or 8 months at a minimum. That'll take a long time.
It will.
In the meantime, is Israel just sort of like dangling and wondering what's going on?
Israel is supportive of the Egyptian military. Israel doesn't mind us selling F-16s to Egypt.
How about I guess we can't sell them to Israel and Israel sell them to Egypt?
No, we sell F-16s. We sell Cadillacs to the Israelis and Volkswagen versions of the F-16 to the Egyptians. They're going to buy fighter jets somewhere. I'd rather them buy fighter jets from us. I'd rather their pilots come to America. I'd rather their officers come to America for military training. If it weren't for our relationship with the Egyptian military, this whole Arab Spring would have turned sour very quickly.
So the smartest intellectually thing is the House and the Senate and the President tomorrow get together and change the law so that we don't violate our law.
You make a good point. I'm just telling you, we live in the most dangerous times imaginable. If Egypt becomes a failed state, it's at the heart of the Mideast. It's the largest Arab country in the world. I hate the fact that the military intervened, but Morsi was taking the country down to a road that really did risk the whole peace process with Israel and the Palestinians and created instability. So we live in tough times, and it's easy to beat on Obama, but I think you may be right about withholding the sales. But we got to stay connected. We got to push the military to turn over the country back to the civilians.
All right, well,
and let them elect somebody.
Change the law tomorrow. It'd be easy done if everybody really wanted. It'd probably be a good thing to do. But let me ask you another question. Detroit. What about Detroit?
Well, let's see. We're supposed to bail out Detroit. That's coming. Your listeners need to understand what I said about the Mideast. 3 things are happening that will change the Mideast forever in a bad way. They're happening in front of us. But the idea of the federal government that's broke as hell, $17 trillion in debt, giving money to Detroit or any other municipality that's broke is absurd. You don't borrow money from somebody who's already broke, and we're laying off defense people.
So what's going to happen?
Well, I think they're going to come to the Congress, and people like me are going to say no. It's not that I hate Detroit. I don't. But we're broke at the federal level. We're laying off defense workers. We're restricting the number of military personnel because of sequestration. 9 fighter squadrons are grounded.
So you're a no.
I'm supposed to bail out Detroit when you got half the Air Force grounded or 9 squadrons? Hell no. This is not the right thing to do. Detroit needs to fix Detroit. Lindsey Graham needs to fix Washington, and Washington is broken, and we can't take on Detroit's problems because we've got more problems of our own than we can solve right now. So no, no, no.
Senator, thank you, sir.